So this is an opportunity. Now, this is not an official Toastmasters event. And because of that,
we're in the kitchen.
Well, I'm done.
I have 2 trophies that many people have given me through the years, like Janine and John Schneier, and different people that I recycle, and I appreciate everybody who gives me trophies each year. We have 2, and guess what? We had no judges. You are the judges. You can vote for one person. We'll count it, and the top 2 people get the 2 trophies. Got it?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, timer, she's timing.
5 to 7.
5 to 7. Yeah. Okay. All right, so they've driven for numbers. I mean, excuse me. They've gone for numbers. And the first one up is Barbara Weinstein, and her title is Rainbow Gatherings.
So I think Woodstock was such magic that probably most of you here have heard of Woodstock. Woodstock.
Yes.
1968, I actually hitchhiked there. A young man came, showed me my door. Barbara, you have to come. We're going to change the world.
It's alright.
Okay, sorry. Did it ring?
Nah, well, it was already.
I had a flute, me and a harmonica, and we were actually hitchhiking there. And when there became the jam up of cars, getting stuck in the mud because it was raining, and there was just a jam up. Like we went out, we were playing our music and interacting with all the people stuck in the woods with us. And that did turn out to be amazing coincidences were happening. Like there was a young man who I found in my sleeping bag. It was
Tell us
nice.
more.
Go on.
He said he was withdrawing from amphetamines and he needed my help. He needed me to get him orange juice and other things that he could drink that were sugar, and I should take care of him. So I did. 2 weeks later, when I came back from Woodstock, I get a call from his father, supposedly. He was from Squirrel, New Jersey. And my last name is Weinstein, which is a very Jewish last name. His dad supposedly was the Ku Klux Klan leader in Squirrel, New Jersey. And this man said, I know what you did for my son. And I want you to know if you ever come to Squirrel, New Jersey, you're definitely going to be protected. That's really appreciated. So that was, like you think, that's got to be a story in itself. That's so amazing, right? But in 1972, people started thinking we can improve on what happened at Woodstock. And it says in our Constitution we can gather at a national forest, and we don't have to pay money, and we can communicate with each other. We have the right to do that. So here began the Rainbow Gatherings, and called Rainbow Gathering because the Hopi Indians said, in the future there'll be a time when Mother Earth is going to be sad, or plants and our animals are going to be having a hard time. Don't worry. There's going to come a great tribe, many nations, many colors. This rainbow gathering is going to happen, come together to heal the planet. So this is from the name, the Rainbow Gathering. And when I went, I think Timothy Leary was there, a lot of people that were authors. Everyone was determined to be vegetarian the time they were at the Rainbow Gathering. There was not to be any alcohol, not supposed to be drugs. And we were just coming together. We were going to heal each other, and we were going to teach each other, and we were going to create the world for at least 2 weeks as we'd love to see it. So people came and they created their villages. We had Kitty Village, where my kids and I learned to make peanut butter balls. And you had Sister Village, and in Kitty Village, I loved it. People got together and they were so smart. They knew the kids would want to climb the trees, so they got fishnet and hung the fishnet from the tree, so if anyone should fall, if any of the children should fall, they wouldn't get hurt. They had fishnet under them to catch them. I thought that was just brilliant. I heard somebody say, is one kid saying to another, like, hi, my name is, and my friend said, oh, I guess this is the internet that they've been talking about. What's going to happen and unite people? They made holes to put the trampolines in. So if someone should fall off the trampoline, they were already on ground level. Someone brought a horse so the kids could know what it was like to ride on a horse. And we were planting things so children should know what that was like. And we were making peanut butter balls so all the children could help with feeding the community. And something they could do, you smush peanut butter into a ball, you could roll it. If you roll something in honey and then you put food coloring down, that ball will become the color of the food coloring, and still you could eat it. And we were making, it was so fun. And the American Indians would always come and they would create a sweat lodge. And I was excited about alternative education. Someone else was excited about changing what was going on with the criminal justice system. And I think they called me the runner then. I don't know how I got here. I want to get back to being a runner because I was so excited to tell people a dark 30 underneath the tree over there. There's going to be a conversation about how we need to change the criminal justice system. Here was what they were doing in Canada. They were having the person who committed the crime with their family get together with the person who was a victim with their family, and it could be a 7-year commitment. It goes on to 7 years until the person who was the victim wasn't feeling like a victim anymore. They felt like restitution had happened, which was just amazing. They were finding you didn't have recidivism, you didn't have people like going back to jail. It was you didn't have people feeling like victims their whole lives. You had people coming heart to heart and understanding each other's families. It was great. Why did it stop? They said it was something to do with money. I don't think so. I think it has to do with our ability to keep communicating with each other, keep coming back to these things that were happening that were so wonderful. We even had a village, it was a fairy village. Imagine that. And you couldn't go over there unless you either had a joke or a song to get into that village. It really was seeing the gift of people coming together, you know, and mind and heart was so wonderful. And you have to ask me back. I have to come back here because I have so much more to say on this subject. It's so beautiful. But I got the red and I got to sit down.
We're going to have a walker race. All right. Brandon, you're going to be Brandon?
Brandon is not here yet, I don't believe. No. So, yeah, I think I'm next.
Okay.
So he's number 10. He's going to be number 10. He shows up. Huh?
All righty. Are you ready? Ready. For the first of 2 kids.
Adult, I wanted to have dogs in my life again because I love having animals. And for those who have pets, how many of you have animals? They enrich our lives. There is a calming effect to being able to sit down and have an animal cuddle up next to you and just love you because they just want to be loved. Met when I got married. My husband grew up on a farm. Dogs were farm animals. They didn't come in the house. They certainly didn't sleep on your bed. They were not a part of the household. So when I told him I wanted to get a dog, he was not exactly thrilled initially. Well, the first dog we adopted didn't exactly help that because this poor animal had lived in a shelter for 4 years and didn't know anything about being a dog. She had separation anxiety. We actually ended up taking her back. But we brought home another dog that he actually liked, did well. She lasted a few years, and then we adopted another shepherd mix that we loved. And Dash actually won Matt's heart for the first time. We had a dog he really loved. Over the years, we had several animals. Again, some rescues, some we just found in the right place. In 2019, my last dog died, and I was really struggling. Matt and I were empty nesters for the first time. It didn't last long, but we were empty nesters for the first time. And we realized that we were doing a lot of traveling, and that meant that we were going to have to board an animal a lot of the time. Bringing a new dog into the house probably wasn't the right thing, so we kind of put it on hold. And for 4 years, I didn't have a dog. And I really was missing that. Last year, my daughter said she needed to move back in with us. As I said, we didn't last long as empty nesters. And I realized that here was an opportunity for me to get a dog, because even if Matt and I were traveling, Aaron and the boys would be at the house to help take care of him. I've already had this thought, and Matt comes to me and goes, so if Aaron's moving back in, does that mean you're going to get another dog? I went, of course I am. But we'll wait till we get back from all our travels. For those who don't know, last year we spent 6 weeks traveling around the world with him as international president. So I didn't want to bring a dog in and have him or her attached to my daughter. This is my dog, right? So I wanted to wait till I got home. The landlord has strict guidelines. Dog must be under 20 pounds. Matt and I have an agreement, Chihuahuas are not an option. I also don't want a yappy dog that's frou-frou and takes a lot of handling and hair cutting and grooming, and not my cup of tea, something I didn't want. So I kind of had a vision in my mind of what I wanted for this little dog. I'd had a Jack Russell Beagle mix that I loved dearly as my last dog, and I thought, let's see if we can find maybe a terrier mix. So we got back on Memorial Day weekend, and the following week, I waited 1 whole week, and I started looking for a dog. And I'm searching through the shelters, and I'm searching online, and I'm searching, and all I'm finding are Chihuahuas and Pit Bulls, which of course neither one was going to work in my scenario. And I'm looking, and I'm looking, and I'm finding Chihuahuas, and I'm finding little frou-frou Grisons, and I'm like, no, this isn't going to work for me. So Saturday, I'd spent all day looking, and I thought, okay, it's just not meant to be this weekend. Maybe we'll take a drive down to some of the shelters in a couple of weeks and see what happens. I don't know why, but Sunday afternoon, about 4 o'clock, I thought, let me just go look one more time. And I pop onto the internet, onto one of the websites I had been on the day before, and there's a brand new listing. He'd been on the site for 1 hour. Free to a good home. Now, anybody who's ever adopted animals, that's a scary one right there. Free to a good home on a site where people are paying to list their animals. You kind of wonder, okay, what's the story here? What might be going on? Monty is an 8-year-old Jack Russell Terrier. We had decided we didn't want a puppy. We didn't want an old dog, but he's a little older than I was looking for. And he's been on for less than an hour. I thought, you know what? He's exactly what I'm looking for. So I put my email out. I don't hear anything. Okay, too good to be true, right? Free to a good home, just what I'm looking for is probably too good to be true. And it did, and I don't hear anything. Tuesday morning, I'm sitting at work and I get a frantic phone call from Olga. Are you Janine? Yes. Are you the one who was interested in Monty? Yeah, I was. She goes, oh my gosh, I am so sorry. I wasn't checking. I didn't expect anybody to look at him. See, Olga's husband died in November. Monty was her husband's dog. And Olga had decided that when her husband died, she was going to keep Monty. But Olga was having to move into an assisted living facility in 4 days. And she had decided she was just going to take Monty to a no-kill shelter and take her chances and hope that they would take him in. And her pastor told her, you should go list him on this website and see what happens. Tuesday evening, we drove up. I said, he has to get along with the kids. I have to bring the grandkids up and make sure he's good. My husband looks at me as we walked out the door and he says, "You're gonna come home with a dog." I said, "Well, we'll see." He goes, "Yeah, I know how this is gonna go." 2 hours later, I brought home Monty. Monty has enriched our lives for the last year. He is a wonderful little dog. He barks a little more than I might like. We're working on that one. But here's the best part. Remember I told you Matt thinks dogs are farm animals? They're welcome in the house, but they don't belong on the bed. So the first couple of nights I've got Monty in a crate next to the bed, and he would cry, and he would whine, and he would settle down because he was used to sleeping in the bed with Olga. The second night Matt looks at me and goes, "Why is he crying?" I said, "Well, he's used to sleeping in the bed." And Matt says, "Well, it's up to you." I went, "Come on up, baby." Oh, and Monty sleeps with us every night now. He and Matt occasionally have fights over where the claws belong, but Monty is a part of our lives now. And for those who don't have an animal in your life, I hope you find your Monty, because we were so blessed to find Monty, and the timing helped everybody.
Come on, my dog always slept with us. that came with the marriage. I have a hard time reading my own writing, but is Sarah? Who's Sarah? Sarah. Woo! Woo! This is Sarah Hondo, title, Lucky Me. Take it away, Sarah.
All my life, I've considered myself lucky. And that's because I was born on March 17th. And if you don't know, that's St. Patrick's Day, so I have to be lucky. And throughout my life, I've carried that little lucky charm with me, whether it's getting opportunities, or having jobs laying in my lap, or meeting incredible people. But where I feel like I found the most luck is the luck I've had with animals. Now, I am an extreme animal lover, just like Janine. So much so that every single weekend I volunteer at the Pelican Harbor in North Miami. If you're not familiar with it, it's an animal sanctuary where they take in injured animals, mostly birds, but they also take in possums and squirrels. And most people hate possums, but I'm here to advocate and tell you that possums are literally the cutest animals ever, and they're super good for the world, and they don't carry rabies. That is a huge myth. So you can pick up a possum, you can pet it, they're super cute. Don't recommend, but I love my time there at Pelican Harbor. And because I love animals so much, I've dedicated all of my traveling and my excursions to seeing animals in the wild. And let me tell you, I have been one of the luckiest people in the world with the animals that I've seen. I've traveled to northern Canada and was able to see 17 polar bears in the wild, over 3,000 beluga whales migrating through the river. I've seen a leopard in the tree of South Africa. I've seen a southern right whale swim right up next to our boat with a baby on its back, showing it off to us. I've just had some incredible experiences. But the best experience that I've had with animals to date is when I was able to see orcas in Friday Harbor. Friday Harbor is a little island off of Seattle. You have to fly to Seattle, take a boat. It takes about 4 hours to get to Friday Harbor. You can stay there for a couple days. It's the cutest little town in the world. So my husband and I had the opportunity to travel there a couple of years ago. Now, my husband had been to Friday Harbor a couple of years before that. He wanted to see the orcas as well. He went out there, hopes high, ready to go, doing the little whale dance, trying to get them to show up, and he saw 0 whales. So he had to bring his lucky charm with him. So off we went to Friday Harbor to try to see the whales again. We get on the boat, we're a little nervous, we don't really know what to expect, but off they go out into the ocean. And all of a sudden we see one little hump in the water. And our guide says, "Look, it's a whale." We're like, "Where? We can't really see it, it's so far away." He's like, "All right, keep your hopes up, keep your hopes up." So the one whale turns into two whales. And all of a sudden, they start picking up some speed. And the guide says, this is extraordinary, this is weird. Let's follow these two whales. The two whales turns into 10 whales, turns into 15 whales. Eventually, we were upon 72 orcas.
Wow.
72 is the exact number of the amount of orcas that family of that type of orca has in that specific area of Friday Harbor. So we were amazed by this experience. We didn't understand what was happening, and our guide was able to tell us that a couple of weeks prior to us being out there on the ocean, one of the orcas was able to give birth to a new baby orca. She had tried to give birth about 2 years prior to that, and unfortunately her baby died because of Earth and the world. And that mom was so sad when her baby died that she actually carried it under her fin for 4 months, mourning and grieving over this dead whale. So 2 years later, we're out there on the water. This same mom was able to give birth to a successful calf. And these 72 orcas came together to celebrate the birth of this baby. Now our guide was able to tell us that usually these 72 orcas separate. And they do that because it's easier for them to get food, right? If they're all together, they have to share whatever they find among 72 whales. Why not break up into pods of 10 so that they get more food? But whenever they're able to celebrate, they do these whale calls, they reach out into the ocean, they say, hey, we have a party. And all 72 whales were able to come together, reaching and jumping, and this little tiny baby whale was jumping out of the water, and they were so happy. We were all crying, our guide was crying. It was the most amazing story that the most amazing experience I've ever been able to experience, and the most amazing story that I get to tell. It was such an incredible experience. At the beginning of the story, I mentioned that I'm lucky. But I'm not so sure that it's that I'm lucky, or it's that I just decide to live my life with eyes wide open, experiencing anything that I'm able to experience. Whether it's a little ladybug on the ground or 72 orcas celebrating the birth of this newborn calf. I enjoy it and I celebrate it, and I think that I'm so lucky to experience those little things.
Get the picture? We were all there, weren't we? All right. One thing I forgot to mention right in the beginning, that kind of part of the introduction, keep in mind that storytelling is the second oldest profession.
Can't talk about the first one. It's inappropriate.
She said it was a PG night, so you can't talk about the first one.
All right, our fourth speaker is Kathy Dyke, and this is my wife.
So tonight, do you remember Sharon Welsh when she was giving her keynote speech? She said, she asked everyone, she asked, what is your why? Well, my why is that every time I go to something like that, and somebody asks that question, my hand just cannot go up. I am terrified to just get up and speak spontaneously. So I've been in Toastmasters for a long time. I've been in Toastmasters this July, 22 years. I think I've gotten my why by then. I've been able to get up and speak, but still, I actually prefer the behind the scenes of leadership, that kind of thing. But I still want to be able to get up and do what all of you are doing here and just getting up and speaking. So then the pathways, I said, well, okay, I'm going to engage in humor, because I think when you talk, if you can add a little bit of humor to it, that's a good thing. Well, I finished the path, but in order to finish the path and do all the projects in the path, I had to borrow stories from different things. And one of the things I borrowed is my brother, one of my brothers, is the funny guy in the path. And I can always tell stories about what he did. One of the ones that I remember that I talked about was when he was about 10 years old. And it was raining really heavily, and he had a pet chicken. Who has a pet chicken? But we were in Jamaica and he had a pet chicken. And the chicken's name was Blackie. And Blackie flew up into the mango tree in the pouring rain, and Gary said he had to get him. And my father said, under no circumstances were you to go out in the rain. Well, Gary was the kind of kid that if you told him not to do something and he really wanted to do it, you know, my mother always used to say, you wait till your father gets home, because he was always doing stuff that she told him not to do. So sure enough, Gary went up into the mango tree, and it was raining, and you know mango trees have like a slimy trunk, and before you knew it, Gary and Blackie under his arm were sliding down the mango tree. Luckily, there was a lot of leaves on the ground and he wasn't hurt, but my father was really mad. So that was one story I could tell that, you know, that was a little funny. And another one I would borrow things that, you know, because I'm a cat lover as well. Animal lover really, but cats are sort of have a soft spot for cat. And my daughter got, she's more of a cat lover than I am. She has 4 cats.
Oh, wow.
So she took 3 cats in first that were offered. Somebody phoned them on the street, and she took three in. And then about maybe a year later, somebody said, "Oh, we found another cat." And she said, "Sugar free." And this cat was a male cat, and his name was they called him Gus. Now, Gus was a male cat among 3 female cats, and from that little cat was just a little bitty thing, like about so big. He decided that he was the boss of the house. And for no reason at all, he would just walk up to the cat and just go, psh, psh. And he was also very smart, because from he was a little bitty thing, he knew his name. The girls didn't know their names for some time, but Gus knew his name long on. And to this day, Gus is now about 8 and the cats are 9. And he still is king of the house. So my granddaughter got a dog, and when she goes back home to visit, she takes the dog with her. And Gus is about maybe 6 pounds. Ellie is almost 30 pounds. And Ellie is terrified of Gus, because Gus will hiss at him and scary daylights out of him, because he is that sort of a presence of a cat. So I tell you these little stories because that's how I was able to get through my engage in humor path. And my last project for that path was the long one, 18-minute one. Oh my God, what was I going to do? So I said, okay, so now I have to talk about a little bit about myself. Talk about directionally challenged. I am seriously directionally challenged. Right, John? When I have to take John with me, he's my navigator when we go into these TLI.
Turn right.
So I said, but anyway, I have this issue with directions. I just do not remember how to go anywhere. So much so that I remember we went on a family trip and we were leaving to take him by the bus, and I'm walking, you know, and my son says to me, "Where are you going, Mom?" I said, "Going to the bus stop." He says, "It's not here," because we were actually in Scotland. My husband is a golfer, and he had won a trip for 2, all expense paid. To any golfers in here? St. Andrews of all places. It was beautiful. Of course, you know, to go back and forth in the countryside, you're going to take a bus. And I was always so sure I was going the right way. When I go to the malls, how many of you park in the same place at a shopping center? I know that if I'm
Same
going
place.
to Devon, I park by Macy's. Right?
I do that too.
Macy's. I don't care where I'm going in the mall, I'm parking
Yeah,
by
Macy's,
Macy's.
yep.
And the reason I do that is because years ago, I learned my lesson. Years ago, I went to the falls, and the falls has a different. I don't like the parking garage at the falls, so I like to park in open parking lot. And they all look the same to me. And unless you know which door you came out of, they all look the same.
So true.
And years ago, You know those little security dog parks that go around? Well, I've been there for quite a few hours, because I think it was Christmas shopping. And I came out and I was looking for at that time I had a gray Honda. How many gray Hondas do you think are
Oh.
Oh
my God.
So I could not find, and I swore my car had been stolen. And I had this man drive me around, and it must have taken about, I didn't know which door I'd come out of. So now again, if I go to the falls, I go to outside bases, I don't care where I'm going in there, if I'm going to the end of the store. I have to park in the same place because I just, so that is my, so my why, still come back to my why, I still can't put my hand up. And so I'm in Toastmasters until I get comfortable enough that when I'm in a big group and somebody asks a question and wants a volunteer, I'll be able to put my hand up and actually answer a question.
I'll do one more.
All right, thank you.
Oh.
When come in.
Oh, no. Yeah, no.
Well, okay, if he doesn't come, then we've got an extra
We have
person.
another speaker, okay.
Yeah.
Let them have their plan.
Okay.
We'll tell him behind you.
You are
Okay.
number 10.
No, not yet. Okay. All right, Aaron. Aaron?
Yes.
Just keep going. Thank you.
Oh, wait, just 1 second. Hold on, let me. No.
I am here to talk about how to just keep going when every fiber of your being wants to quit. So you might be wondering what I'm talking about. I am talking about
I got it, yeah.
my journey through running. You see, I've run a lot in my life. I like to call myself retired, but really, my body retired a lot earlier than I was ready to retire. Your knees, your hips, they don't hold up so well after you run 7 full marathons and countless half marathons. But you could say I loved it. It was a form of therapy for myself. However, I'd like to take you through some of that journey because it wasn't easy. And the lessons that I learned through the training, through the preparation, through the fueling, have carried me through so many difficult times in my life and helped me to just keep going. So let's take it all the way out to Honolulu, Hawaii. That is where I got to run my very first marathon. Now in my training, I added in the Maui half marathon around that halfway point when I was supposed to run 13-ish miles. Maui is beautiful. Highly recommend. Maybe not on your feet, but highly recommend visiting. So then the morning of the Honolulu Marathon dawns. And that race starts at 5:30 a.m. Hawaii Standard Time because it is hot in Hawaii. Lucky for me, I was born and raised in Florida, so that was nothing for me. But it's also hilly. That race, I still remember it, and it was a long time ago. I want to say 2005. 2005, I ran that race. And you start in the dark, and you start in downtown Honolulu. So I want you to picture a downtown scene. Believe it or not, Honolulu is pretty incorporated if you haven't been. There's a lot of tall buildings, there's a lot of decorations because it's in December. The Christmas lights were on and we're running through and it's beautiful. And then we go down and around, and as we're going up around Diamond Head, the sun's rising. And you're seeing the sunrise over Diamond Head. This was 2005 and I can still remember that race. It was also my first marathon. I continued to run through the hills all around Hawaii. I ended up seeing this girl over and over. And it was probably a good thing because I was starting to feel the pain of running. Things were hurting. I wanted to quit, but I just kept going. We actually crossed the finish line together, and I still have a photo of me and her at the finish line, taken by those marathon photo guys. My time in that race was 5 hours and 15 minutes of running. For For some people, it's incredible I even did it. For others, that is a slow time and a time to beat. So let's go ahead and think about 6 months later, and it's like, well, I just did one marathon, let's do another one. I now moved from Hawaii to San Diego, and the San Diego Rock and Roll Marathon. But you know what, let's throw a wrench in that plan, because while I was in Hawaii and I ran the Honolulu Marathon, my husband was deployed. But he came home in the interim, and we'd been married about 3 years. It was about that time, and I got pregnant. I was pregnant and registered for a marathon. What to do? I asked the doctor, and I was like, please say no, please say no, please say no. And do you know that he told me, just don't get dehydrated and don't get overheated. I was like, okay, I can do this. And my training had been off, and I didn't know why, because anyone in here who's a mom, who's been pregnant, knows those early days, you might just feel wonky. And trust me, I knew that we were trying, so I was taking tests a lot, and they were all negative. Until they weren't. And I had this race coming up. So I said, all right, let's go. So I go, we start, because of course he had to do it with me. He's very competitive. We're no longer together, but that's a whole other story. So we start out, we're running, and we get a few miles in, and that first trimester, you just want to sleep. Let me tell you what, you just want to sleep. You're growing a human. You're tired. But I'm running a race. And it's only my second one, and I didn't train very well. This is a recipe for disaster. Obviously, survived. So I'm running, and by mile 8, I'm like, oh, I just can't. And I start walking. And I'm like, I just can't. I'm at mile 8. Do you know how many miles there are to go?
26.
A lot more than 8. I'm not even halfway. So I'm like, all right, I gotta keep going. I gotta try to run more. And I'm seeing people sit on the sides, and I'm like, I don't think you're pregnant. I know you're not pregnant. Why are you sitting down? And I'm like, I just want to sit with them. I just want to sit down. I'm tired. But I keep going. But I'm not as fast. I mean, I'm growing a human. So I just keep going. And I get to 23. And that aforementioned ex-husband says, you're really slowing me down. Keep in mind, he stayed about 3 to 4 steps ahead of me. He was never beside me, and heaven forbid he was behind me. But he just kept in front of me. And finally I said, you know what? Go. We got 3.2 miles left. Go. Get to the end, and I'll see you there. And he went off. And guess what? I walked those last 3.2 miles. Tears streaming down my face. But I did it. And I crossed the finish line. And I told you the time of the first one because with all of that going on, I was only 30 minutes slower. I crossed at 5:45. And when I got across that line, I was met by the aforementioned ex-husband who said, can I have your beer ticket? Here you go. So I had to keep going. And what I learned through all of this, I went on to run 5 more marathons. I did a lot of training with my son in a stroller. My son is a strapping 17-year-old hockey player now, so clearly the marathon did okay with him. He's run one, but he doesn't like to run and has never actually run. He ice skates. So anyway, the point is, I had a lot of challenges that came up in my life later on, clearly. Single mom for over 15 years. And fighting my way through all of the trials and tribulations that came with that. But I know that training, that working hard to achieve those goals, to just keep going, got me there.
Do you know Tony?
Tony?
Tony Lonely?
No.
Oh, he was sitting back here just a little bit ago with the white suits. He runs marathons all the time.
Oh.
Big marathon runner. Yeah, all over the country.
Awesome.
Oh, did she just say that? I heard her say that word.
No, I don't.
Number 6, John. Yeah. Be yourself. Of all people to say that, be yourself, John.
Do you remember your first date? Anyone? Yeah, I remember mine. Her name was Luann. I was 15, incredibly shy, very nervous. I didn't know what to do on a date. I asked my friends. I found out that 15-year-old boys don't know a whole lot about what makes a girl happy. Probably the best advice I got was from my father. He said, John, just be yourself. And as I was walking away, I was pretty sure I heard him say to my mother, if that boy's himself, you'll never even meet that girl. I remember the first time I kissed Luann.
Hey.
I was 28.
Wow.
Told you I was shy. Did I mention I was slow too? It was at our 10-year high school reunion.
Whoa.
As you can imagine, I didn't date much in high school. And that fine tradition continued into college. Until my junior year, when at a school mixer, I approached Janet. Now that was very strange for me. I think I must have just the right number of beers in me. Maybe one too many. I don't know. 5 years later, we got married.
Yeah, nice.
We had our ups and downs, we had children, we had good times, we had bad times. 27 years later, we divorced.
Wow.
Now what? I mean, I don't want to be alone the rest of my life. So I took some time for myself, and then I talked to my friends. And I discovered that 50-year-old men don't know anything more than 15-year-old boys do about what makes a woman happy. So I talked to my good friend Kristen. Now, Kristen is a psycho therapist. She's a psychotherapist. Should we put those words closer? And she told me to get on eHarmony. I said, oh, no, I'm not a computer dating kind of guy. No. And she goes, John, the world of dating has changed a lot in the 30 years since you've been on a date. She said, eHarmony is all process-driven. It's really good. She said, you're the most process-oriented guy I know. And you're a computer nerd. Give it a try. I fought her, but she twisted my arm. I filled out all of the questions. She reviewed the answers with me and said, this looks great. Just be yourself. Now, over the course of the next 10 months, I was matched with 2,000 women.
Wow.
It's a good thing I'm a process guy, because I needed a process to get through all of those matches. I only met 3 of them face to face. One at a time. I'm not a player. I'm a traditional kind of guy. And then one day I was matched with Lillian, a computer programmer from Boca Raton. I said, oh, this might work. I grew up as a computer programmer and I live in Boca Raton. So we followed the eHarmony process. Questions, escalating to exchanging emails, and then the big event, the first phone call. A little nervous, just like when I was 15, feeling each other out, and then she let it slip.
Wow.
She's a former high school math teacher. Jackpot, baby! I love math. And I said, this is great. Maybe you could help me get the answer to a question I've been looking for the past 30 years. She goes, okay, I'll try. What is it? I said, have you ever taught calculus? She said, well, I taught pre-calculus. I said, good enough. Where do I find a conical-shaped bathtub that when the drain is open halfway and the faucet's turned on 3/4 will overflow in 15 minutes? I said, I've been to every plumbing supply store up and down the East Coast. They look at me like I'm crazy. She bursts out laughing. Guys, that's a real good sign. She did not hang up. When she got done laughing, she said, "Oh my God,
She was too stunned.
you're one of them." And I said, "My dear, I am their king." She started laughing. We had a real good time. We agreed we'd get together the next week for lunch or something. Well, the next day, I happened to be driving past Kristen's office. You remember Kristen, the psycho? The therapist? Around lunchtime, I figured, let me drop in and see if she wants something to eat. Well, she was having a sandwich. So I told her about the phone call with Lillian. Her sandwich hit the desk. Her jaw almost did too. She said, "Are you telling me that's the first conversation you had with a woman you haven't even met yet?" "Yeah." She says, "John, I know I told you to be yourself, but I didn't mean all at once. It's gonna scare them off." She said, when are you, "Oh, green light already?" That was really quick. Like most of my dates. So she said, "When are you two getting together?" "I have to be in the next booth." Well, we got together for lunch the next week without Kristen. And we've been together ever since. My father and Kristen were right. I just needed to be myself. And it doesn't matter whether it's in Toastmasters, at work, or in your personal life. Being yourself, being authentic, that's what matters. Now, Luann, she still lives up in New Jersey. She's a grandmother now. Janet, she's long gone. Lillian and I are still together 15 years later.
Wow.
And one day, maybe, just maybe,
Yeah.
I'll kiss Lillian too.
Oh dear.
The real question: Have you not kissed her as yet? Have you not kissed her?
15 years?
Yeah.
Not listen? I certainly don't kiss him.
You're the young hustler. You got to figure that one out.
Congratulations, John. Your marriage lasted 7 years longer than mine did.
It's not a contest.
All right, our next one is John Lazar. And John, I can't read what it's one's, whatever the title is. Take it away.
The title is 215 to 178. Have you ever been in a time where you're scared and you're worried that you're not going to live another day, and you got to look at today and go, shit, how am I going to work through this? 11 weeks ago, I've had this internal struggle. I've had 2 heart attacks, I had 4 stents, and it was 215 pounds. My blood pressure was 160 over 100 hypertensive, high blood pressure. Have you ever had a time where you look at your daughter and you go, how am I ever going to look at my grandchildren and watch them grow? I won't, because I won't make it. I stopped and I said, you need to stop being so negative. I looked at life and I go, I was looking down because I'm grounded. No, I started looking up. I go, how do I find this dream to live? 11 weeks ago. It started with a conversation. I do insurance inspections. I visit a lot of businesses. I visit a lot of people. And I walked into a smoke shop and I'm doing an inspection. No, I'm not buying supplies. I'm not buying smoke paraphernalia. And what really struck me in that place, I started to chuckle because I went to the bathroom to go take a picture of the plumbing, and I noticed a very strange sign on the front of the door. And I just started laughing. It said, please do not use cocaine in the bathrooms. I had no intention of using cocaine in the bathroom. And I couldn't understand, when you walk into a smoke shop, usually it's kind of dingy, the tiles are kind of broken. No, this is a brand new shop, painted, and everything was feng shui, different colors. I had to ask. Young blonde girl. I would have swore she was 16 years old. I said, really, you have to post a sign to not do cocaine in the bathrooms? She goes, yeah, sometimes people come in this neighborhood and they use my bathroom to use and take drugs. And I go, oh, okay, I guess I'm not going to put that on the insurance form to explain that this could be a liability issue in this smoke shop. So I started having a conversation because I wanted to feel good about not having to put something about that particular scenario. I go, what is it you eat? Really thin, blonde girl, and she starts speaking Miami. Because in Miami, it's never quite English, never quite Spanish, but I love it. And I asked her, I said, so what do you eat? Really thin girl. She goes, well, I don't eat any carbs and I don't eat any sugar. It struck me. I'm looking up, not 2 days before, going, how am I going to make it? And 2 gifts hit me in the same day. That girl, I go, how old are you? She's 32 years old. I go, huh? It didn't align. It didn't make sense. What do you mean you don't eat carbs and you don't eat sugar? Where are you from? Oh, I'm Cuban. Do you eat rice? No, rolls. No, I don't like rice. Well, what do you eat? I eat salad, chicken. She even told me the portion size. I was like, all right, this is weird. I walked away and I was kind of grateful that she explained how she eats. Same day, I go into this place where I've been there 4 times. I know the guy. I walk in, 78 years old, and we start talking, and when you meet somebody 4 times, you don't have to ask the same level of questions. So I just jumped at him and I said, you're really thin. His wife was in the background doing paperwork. And he goes, and we were just telling jokes and talking stuff. And I go, well, what do you eat? He goes, I don't eat any carbs and I don't eat any sugar. The guy's 78 years old. And I go, why is it that you focus on that? And he goes, I had 2 heart attacks. It smacked me in the face. Somebody's talking to me. I've had 2 heart attacks. He had 4 stents. I have 4 stents. I'm 57 and he's 78. Okay. Weird. I stopped and asked for information. What do you mean? What do you mean? What do you mean you don't eat carbs and you don't? What do you eat? Protein. Do you eat fruit? He goes, only a small amount of blueberries. We had this really long conversation about diet. And in the back of my head, I go, all right, 2 people are telling me this, and this is a gift. I stop and I do one thing. I start processing it. 2-3 days later, here's what happened. I look at my food differently in the refrigerator. Now, I haven't had a Coke after my first, not cocaine, Coke. I haven't had a Coke in 15 years, Coca-Cola. I was an avid Coke drinker. I haven't had one. But this time, there's something different in this 11 weeks. If I can honestly tell you I've only had 4 pieces of pizza in the last 11 weeks, I'm not lying. 4 slices of pizza. I have one cheat day, it's usually on Saturdays. Today, when I got served my food, I got the churrasco steak. What did I have on there? Green beans and potatoes. I didn't eat the potatoes. I programmed myself to not have carbs, not have sugar. The big piece of chocolate cake that was in front of me, I didn't touch it. Why? I'm going to tell you the next component. The first 4 weeks, I lost 30 pounds. That's not the crazy part. The crazy part is the stupid phone and steps. I'm gonna go way over time and I'm gonna tell you this one thing. You're gonna think I'm lying and you're gonna ask me, is this for real? If I go to my steps and I'll tell you, you know what my goal right now is? It's not 25,000 steps a day. In 7 weeks, I'm trying to reach 1 million miles. I'm not 1 million steps. 1 million steps, not 1 million miles. It's a big increase. Considering I wasn't walking 10,000 steps a day, I'm 37 days in a row where I'm over 10,000 steps. Yesterday I walked 28,000 steps. It's equivalent to 12 miles. It's 5 hours a day I'm walking. Why am I doing that? I want to live. I want to maybe see my grandchildren, and I want to be here to mentor and have fun and torture as many Toastmasters as I possibly can. I'll give you a hand.
See, it would be nice if you could take all those steps. You take some things for granted and then all at once. In a slip, you were done. All right, Susan. Susan, Susan. Eat the color. Oh God, you've just been from eating to, eat, now we have eat the colors.
Eat the colors.
No, you're not supposed to eat. You don't eat anymore.
Who likes to eat?
Yeah.
When I was 8 years old, I would have raised both hands. Because not only did I like to eat, I ate the standard Cuban diet. What's the standard Cuban diet, John? Rice, steak, beans, and plátanos, exactly. But not only did I eat those things, I ate a big plate of it. And now I want you to picture that plate, and I want to picture the girl. I was 175 pounds at 8 years old.
Oh, geez.
And it was at a physical education meeting where they had us do the weigh-in. Hop onto the weigh, and all of a sudden I heard that PE teacher say, "You're obese." You're obese? I never even heard this word before. I went home and asked my brother, "What does obese mean?" He goes, "Oh my God, I can't even believe they used that word with you. He told you you're extremely fat." And he used the technical word for it. I had never heard that word before. But it took that moment right there to say, I need to make a change. I didn't know what the change was. I didn't know that it was eating the Cuban standard diet that was happening. I didn't know that it was a lack of exercise. I didn't know any of those things. I just knew I was called obese. And that started a journey for me. It started a journey, but unfortunately the wrong journey. It was a yo-yo diet. I just quit eating. I quit enjoying those plates, and I just starved myself. And I starved myself so much. Yes, I lost weight, but I also lost so much more. I didn't know that was the wrong journey. Interestingly enough, it was one day that I discovered eating the colors of the rainbow. And no, John, it's not eating Skittles. Oh no. It was eating fruits, vegetables, real food, real colors that represented the vitamins, the nutrients that we needed to actually feed our bodies. That's the secret. And I will tell you, the obesity crisis, especially in childhood, it's a $1 trillion business right now. But I'm gonna give you the secret for free right here today. Focus on eating real food. Not this manufactured food that they have now, making you think it's real food. If you're reading ingredients and reading long lists, those are foods made in a plant. I want you to eat plants grown by nature. Those nature colors that are coming on and seeing that vibrancy, that's the vibrancy you're gonna get inside. Why wouldn't you want that from yourself? I want to encourage you to eat the colors of the rainbow. Picture your plates right now. Picture them. Are your plates mostly white, yellow, and brown? Because that's not what's gonna give you the energy. You need to see those greens. You need to see those reds. You need to see those yellows, those purples, and those blues. Because that's where the energy's at. So I thank that PE teacher for making me step on that scale that day. Because maybe if it weren't for him, I would be telling a different story. I would be telling the story of this ease instead of energetic vibrancy. And I'll tell you today, I am so grateful to be 42 years old and look younger than I did at 8 years old. Okay? So I want to encourage you, if you really want a life of vibrancy, energy, and longevity, look at your plate. And I encourage you every day to eat the colors of the rainbow. Thank you.
All righty. Bianca, Florida, here we come. Is that right?
Yes.
Did I read that correctly?
I'm so happy to look around the room and see people that are at least halfway to my age. Because I am going to talk about a journey that started in 1977. 1977. The snowstorm of 1977. There was snow in Hollywood, Florida on that day. The snow was at the second story of my house. The little peephole that was at the top of the attic was the only view I had. 3 days later, dug out by the fire department, I called my boss. Hello, guess what? I'm giving you my 2 weeks notice. I'm going to Florida. What do you mean you're going to Florida? I said, this is ridiculous. I'm not going to live here. Sold everything I owned, brought my 2 dogs to my favorite friend who had a farm, because I lived in upstate New York, bought a truck, put a cab on it, loaded it, whatever it would hold. Even some hanging plants were singing. Put my car on the back, and here I come. Guess what I bought? A ham radio. My handle? M&M. Why? Because I melted in your mouth and not in your hands. As I drove by myself all the way down to Florida, as I got to Virginia, parked my car with my truck, went to the motel to sleep. When I woke up the next morning, I forgot to take my car at the drive. As I was driving down Highway 27, why Highway 27 when I-95 was perfectly fine? Because I was told it's the truckers' route. And if I got in trouble, the truckers would help me. Well, all of a sudden on my CB radio comes, truck, Ford, Brown, your car that you're towing is about to pass you. Look in your rear view mirror. Oh, no. And there it was. The car was starting to come to the other side of me. I pulled over, and the trucker says, pull over, I'll help you. I pull over, like, wow. It was actually cabled away from my car, from my truck, can you imagine? This giant 18-wheeler stops. The littlest person I've ever seen in my life, with the biggest cowboy hat and the biggest pointy cowboy boots, jumped down from the cab and come on down to rescue me. He took off the bumper, put it inside my car, turned my car the opposite way, hooked it up, and I was good to go. That was just the start of my journey, as I invited him to dinner and apple pie. Once I got to Florida, I needed a place to live. Didn't know where I was going. Stopped in North Miami, Florida, on 135th Street and 16th Avenue, for those of you that might know where that is. And I went to Shelburne Apartments. And I walked in and they had one apartment available. Okay, great. We'll be ready for a month. What the heck do I do for a month? Took my truck, put everything in storage, bought a mattress, a hibachi, and an ice chest. Threw it in the back of the truck and drove to Key West. I was going to see Key West. Didn't know it was there. They happened to be building the 7 Mile Bridge. How amazing is that? I get down to Boyd's Campground. If you've never been, you must go. For $6 a day. I had a water view, and I was happy. Wake up the next morning, and being a first-class Girl Scout, I started making my breakfast. Bacon, eggs, took out my orange, filled it with muffin, put foil on it. The smell was amazing. All of a sudden, I turn around, and there's a line of men standing at my truck. I'm like, can I help you? Wow, where did you learn to cook like that? We've been here building the 7 Mile Bridge from all over the world, and we've been eating crap since we got here. I was like, okay, well, let me preface something. Back in that day, I was 36, 24, 36, and I was awesome. I'm still awesome, but I was awesome. That was dangerous, okay? I said, well, can I help you? I don't have enough food to feed you all. We'll make you a deal. Now, I don't have a job either, right? They said, will you cook for us? I met 45 different people, all the way from Australia to Europe, frogmen, engineers, scientists, marine biologists. And for 1 month, we partied. Oh yes, we partied. We had so much fun. Am I on yellow already? Holy crap. Anyway, it was the most amazing time. When I was done and all was said and done, I ended up with 45 new friends, married a couple. No, I didn't marry them. I married them as a notary. And it was a wonderful time. I drove back home. When I got back home, no one even recognized me when I got back to North Miami because my hair was crazy. I had an amazing tan because I lived in a bikini the whole time. But I cooked breakfast, lunch, and dinner for these people and had the best time ever. Florida, you rock.
Write your name and the name of your speech.
Okay.
And Boyd's Campground is still there, I might
Yes,
add.
it is. It's still there, but it's not $6 a day.
On Stock Island, on the Isle of Stock, as I like to refer to it. While he's doing that, she reminded me of something that I don't get a chance to share very often. But my dad was a ham radio operator. And so as I grew up, I was just used to W9FYY. We had cards, if you're a ham radio person, you send postcards to people all over the world that you talk to. And so a couple of years ago, my cousin, I don't know how he found this, but like on Amazon or something, he found my dad's card that my dad mailed to somebody in Key West on Royal Street. That's where I live. And so I drove by that house, which of course this was 70 years ago or something, when he did that. And then not long after that, on the front page of the paper, was a picture, the citizen of the day, of this man, this local insurance man. It was his birthday, and it said that he had been a ham radio operator. And I went by his insurance company with my dad's card, and I said, "Do you know who this is that lives at this address?" And he said, "Oh yeah, that's Joe Lyons. He was my friend." That my dad sent that postcard to.
Thank you for that story.
All right, one more.
Right here?
Yeah, that's him. Kareem, his, I should have brought my glasses today. Being, something or other.
Being resourceful.
Oh, being. Okay, you ready?
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you.
Ready or not?
Yeah, ready or not.
Good morning, everybody.
Yep.
My name is Kareem Wilderim. Yes, my last name is Wilderim. And I've been an odd child my whole life. I've been one to be in the corner, occupying myself, drawing, thinking, and it didn't take much for me to occupy myself because I was good at dreaming, right? I like to draw, and it's a way for me to bring my ideas to life and to reality. And it's something that I do because dreaming is free, thinking is free, and being able to have those skills allows me to bring those ideas into the real world. And I've continued throughout my life bringing ideas into the world using the resources that I have.